Well, as you know by now, Democrats in New York decided to embrace a 33-year-old radical communist to be their nominee for mayor of New York City. We're going to give you all the details about who this person is and how dangerous he might be and how he perfectly represents where the Democrats are right now as a political party. But the best part about what happened last night is the fact of who really voted for this guy, because it's very different than what you're hearing right now in cable news and broadcast news. We'll tell you the truth about who really voted for him, and even more importantly, how ignorant they are. We've got all that coming up in just a second, but first, take a look at the victory party. Last night, as it was announced, Andrew Cuomo conceded the victory to Zoran Mamdani. What is his last name again? Mamdani? We'll get to that in a minute. Here's what the victory party looked like when the announcement was made. Now listen, they are excited, and I get it. They shocked the world. Nobody gave them a chance. 33-year-old, he's only been an American citizen for 7 years. He's only been a state assemblyman for, I think, 2 terms. And he's a radical. He was a member of the Democrat Socialist of America party before he was an actual Democrat, I believe. And no one expected them to beat Andrew Cuomo with all those millions, with the name. He's the former governor. He's part of a political legacy. I mean, it's a big deal. So I get how exuberant and excited they were because they just carried off the impossible. Do you notice something else, though, about this party? 2 distinctive characteristics about the people in that room. The hardcore supporters, the people who went to the party to celebrate this win. Do you notice? 2 things. Number 1, they're all very young. Number 2, they're all very white. New York City is the most diverse city on the planet. They talk about how diverse they are as a political party. People of color are welcome here. You're our people. We represent you. Not in that room. This is a bunch of liberal elite, college-educated socialists who were more than happy to stick it to the man because they liked the TikTok videos. That's all this is. But don't let anybody tell you the Democrats are the party of diversity, certainly not in New York City, and certainly not supporting this kind of candidate. Here he is speaking last night during his victory party.
We have won because New Yorkers have stood up for a city they can afford. A city where they can do more than just struggle. And it's where the mayor will use their power to reject Donald Trump's fascism, to stop mass ICE agents from deporting our neighbors, and to govern our city as a model for the Democratic Party.
Yeah, it's a model for the Democrat Party, all right. That's really the through line here that you need to remember as we unpack what happened last night in New York. And as you see reactions from Chuck Schumer, what's he going to say? Hakeem Jeffries will show you what he said. Governor Hochul in New York. These are people who have national ambitions. Hakeem Jeffries wants to be the Speaker of the House. Chuck Schumer wants his party to ascend again. What are they saying about what happened last night in New York? Let me tell you this. Pay close attention to what just happened. Pay close attention to what this man is saying right now and what he has said in the past. Starting tomorrow, his message is going to change radically. This is what happens. But pay close attention to this moment in time, because at this moment, the mask is off. Right? This is who they are. This is who the radical left in America is. This is what the Democrat Party is today in America. They are the most extreme and the most radical. The mask right now is off. Now, when they run in 2028 and in 2026, and most certainly when they run in 2028, the mask will be back on. Let me explain. In 2020, when they needed a candidate to defeat Donald Trump and be the president of the United States, they could have gone with Bernie Sanders because that's who they are. They could have gone with Elizabeth Warren because that's who they are. But they realized they couldn't win nationwide with the mask off. So they had to put the mask on. And they got Joe Biden. Because Joe Biden, well, he's an old school Democrat. He's, like Clinton, or even before him, like Hubert Humphreys. He goes way back. He's not radical. He's not crazy. He's not a socialist. And then he gets into office, and look at what he did. Look at how radical that president. He was more radical, I would argue, than Barack Obama. Because the mask was on for the election. Right now, the mask is off. They are showing you exactly who they are. Don't forget it. Because they're going to pretend. It's time to start pretending again. Everybody says, oh my gosh, in 2028, they're going to nominate somebody really wild, somebody really radical. They're going to nominate AOC. They're going to nominate, this guy, or they're going to nominate Kamala Harris again, or the Gavin Newsom, right? No, they're not. The closest they'll come is to Gavin Newsom because he can lie. He can put that mask on. And he can actually make you believe him because he is such a pathological sociopath that he can lie with impunity. But for the most part, most people can't lie like that. They can't put the mask on and take it off so easily. So they're probably going to nominate someone like Josh Shapiro. They're going to nominate someone like Mark Kelly. They're going to nominate somebody who can pretend until they get into office. And then they bring in the whole gang again. The whole gang who are currently working at the Center for American Progress, or they're working at some other NGO. They're making their money, and they're just waiting for the opportunity to get back into power again and do exactly what they do when they are in power. They take the mask off, and they radicalize this country. You just heard at his victory speech, he's not even running against Andrew Cuomo in the general election, or Eric Adams, or Curtis Sliwa, the other prominent names on the ticket. No, he's running against Donald Trump. Because when you're in New York City and you're pissed off about Donald Trump being in the White House, obviously you need to get a mayor who will fight the president, because that's what the mayor of New York does. But that's really what we're seeing play out here. So the question is, who really voted for this guy? You heard him just now say that people were voting because they want a more affordable New York, that they can't afford their rents or their cost of living or their groceries. And so we just wanted somebody to bring common sense solutions, common sense from the Leninist, Stalinist Soviet Union, to be able to make things more affordable. So you would think that it's the poor people in New York, the people who are barely making it, that can't get by. They're the ones who voted for this guy. That's what you'd think. But you'd be wrong. Actual analysis of the vote last night for Zoran Mamdani shows that those making under $50,000 living in New York, the poorest of the poor, who are hurt hardest by the cost of living in that city, the people who rely on city government benefits to be able to make it and survive, they overwhelmingly voted for Andrew Cuomo in the primary. Overwhelmingly. Those who are middle income in New York leaned more toward Mr. Mamdani by a +6. But look at that number over to the side. The wealthiest of New Yorkers, the ones who live in the Upper West Side of Manhattan and Staten Island and the Upper East Side and in Brooklyn Heights, the high rent districts, the people who can afford to live there. They overwhelmingly voted for the communist. They overwhelmingly voted for the socialist. Not because they need the government programs to make things more affordable, not because they want the benefits that he promised. They voted for him because they intellectually feel better about themselves because they did. Well, he's a foreigner, he's a man of color, he's a Muslim. Look at me and how virtuous I am. Socialism, I love the idea of socialism. That's great for those people. I'm wealthy enough not to be affected by those horrible policies. And let's face it, if he raises the taxes too high, I can always easily move out of state, or, instead of just summering in the Hamptons, I'll just make that my permanent place of residence. So I won't have to pay those taxes. Somebody else will. But socialism, that makes me feel so much better about myself. That's who voted for this guy. Oh, one other thing. This is my favorite part of it. Look at the Google searches on the word socialism. Look at the spike in searches for the word socialism last night. Last night, after the polls closed in New York. In New York, everyone Googled the word socialism to find out what it was after they voted for the socialist. Socialism sounds really good, doesn't it? Yes, we're social people. And I know I've heard those mean conservative Republicans, they always talk bad about socialism. They hate socialism. So if Trump hates socialism, and this guy is a socialist, let's vote for the socialist. You gonna vote with the socialist with me? Okay, cool. Let's do a selfie. Okay. All right, we voted for socialism. Oh my God, he won. The socialist won. Buffy, what is socialism? Oh my God, Chad, I have no idea what socialism is. Let's Google it. What the fuck? It's the end of my one-man show about what happened in New York last night. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much. I'm going to title it Buffy and Chad Learn What Socialism Is the Hard Way. So, Hakeem Jeffries, also a New Yorker, wants to be Speaker of the House. He's got the SADS today. Why does he have the SADS? I'll tell you why. Because if the media actually did their job, they would do to Hakeem Jeffries and every other elected Democrat in America what they would do to a Republican if a radical, extreme, right-wing Republican just won the nomination for mayor of New York or any other major city. They would get a camera in the face of every single Democrat who holds office or who is running for office and say, do you agree with your nominee in New York? And if you disagree with him, why? What's different? Why do you think he doesn't represent the Democrats? Or does he? Does he represent the Democrats? That's your party. Is he your guy? That's exactly what they do to Republicans. How do I know? Because they do it all the time. So Hakeem Jeffries, who would like to win the majority in 2026, he's now got to live with this guy. He's got to embrace him or he's got to distance himself, and he's not quite sure what to do yet. So here's Joe Scarborough giving him the softest of softballs, and Hakeem Jeffries just can't make contact.
Say that he is far too extreme on economic issues and even issues involving Israel. I'm curious what your thoughts are on him ideologically. Is that does he have an ideology that you would want your candidates in 2026 to have?
Well, from the standpoint of House Democrats and what our focus has been, clearly we have an affordability crisis in the United States of America, and our focus will continue to be on driving down the high cost of living in this country. Donald Trump promised to lower costs on day one. Costs haven't gone down, they're going up. He's crashing the economy in real time. His tariffs are going to impose thousands of dollars in additional cost on everyday Americans per year. And he may even be driving us toward a recession. It's the reason why Donald Trump has become so unpopular. It's because he's failed the country on the economy. And so our vision is going to be for an affordable America, work hard, play by the rules, live the good life, provide a comfortable living for yourself and for your family. That means being able to actually afford a home, educate your children, have access to health care, go on vacation with your children and your family every now and then. And of course, Joe, one day retire with grace and dignity.
All right, so chicken in every pot, and you can afford everything and live the good life in New York if you vote Democrat. You know they've been in power for the last 12 years, right? And they've been in power of the state of New York for, what, like 2 decades now? But that's our message. Vote for us. We'll deliver. We promise. If I understood that question and answer correctly, Scarborough, again, softball, says, does this guy, this radical socialist who wants to, take government control of grocery stores, does he represent the ideas and policies of your party, Hakeem Jeffries? And Jeffries' answer was, Trump sucks. Which, you got to hand it to him. That's pretty much been their message for the last 10 years. They got nothing else. That man right there is not happy. You know what's going to be the funniest thing in the world? The funniest thing is when Donald Trump endorses Eric Adams for mayor or Andrew Cuomo for mayor. Like, Trump is going to force these Democrats to embrace the socialist or embrace the guy that Trump wants. It's going to be amazing. And it's going to happen sooner than you think. So who is this guy exactly, and what do New Yorkers think about him? Well, here's a snapshot.
Can I ask you who you want to win?
Zoran,
Oh, tell me why Zoran.
because he's the only candidate whose politics don't bother me to my core.
What bothers you to your core about Cuomo?
Where can I start?
Anywhere you like.
The fact that he's a sex pest, that he is corrupt, that he put Republicans on the legislature when he was in office constantly, that he tried to block de Blasio's pre-K for all. I could go on.
Yeah.
He's been a crook since he started.
I'm seeing what Republicans are saying on X, and they're concerned about like the him giving money to transgender healthcare in the city. Do you care about that?
I have never once cared about that. I mean,
Yeah.
insofar as that, like, it is a problem.
Yeah.
I've never once cared about such things. No.
Yeah. The government-run grocery stores. What are your thoughts on those?
I think that's fine. It's a small program he wants to do. It's
Yeah.
it's about like testing out new policies, taking chances with policy, which I think everybody should be doing. The term defund the police got co-opted by the bad people and turned into some kind of slam and some kind of othering. But what it is then there needs to be kind of it is about kind of making police accountable, and if they're not, their pay gets stopped. Kind of like that kind of general principle, because there's no need for police to have military grade SWAT gear for protests.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of thing that it was coming from a good place. It's, it made for a good slogan. It then got turned into, so you want the police to have no money, you want no police. And I think that became toxic just in how it was co-opted by Republicans and some centrists.
He describes himself as a Democrat socialist. Do you believe that socialism can work in New York City, given that it's the financial capital of the world?
I've said this before. I get to say this on camera. I'm very excited. I don't consider myself a socialist, but I think what the city needs and what the country needs is some socialism right now. I think that there's too big a discrepancy between the haves and the have-nots, and the way to do that is like a big wrecking ball of economic equality coming.
There you go. I told you the whole Buffy Chad scenario there on socialism wasn't too far off. He loves his socialism. He's not a socialist, but we could use a little bit more of it. Defund the police, just taken out of context. What it really means is if you do a bad thing, we're going to dock your pay, which, by the way, is already the policy for police officers nationwide. Defund the police didn't really mean defund the police. Those Republicans co-opted it. Listen, at least you know he's an informed voter in New York. He was right there on the issues. What he did say, though, I think is one of the big takeaways from last night's election, which is this had a lot to do with New Yorkers hating Andrew Cuomo and being done with the Cuomo legacy, being done with the establishment like the Clintons and the Cuomos, sort of ramming somebody down their throat and saying, just eat this turd sandwich. It's good for you. It's the best thing for you, in fact. I remember on the morning after the 2016 presidential election when Trump won and beat Hillary Clinton, the first thing I said on my morning radio show was, now I hope everybody understands just how pissed off we are. Because we're not going to do and deliver what you demand we do for you. And deliver. Y'all hate Trump. Y'all say that Trump is evil, Trump's terrible. Just to screw with you, I'm going to vote for the guy. Because he's not the corrupt loser that you're forcing on us. I think that this primary yesterday had a lot to do with people just hating Andrew Cuomo in New York, and Cuomo and the establishment not getting the message. And you have to do something radical like this to deliver the message. And radical it certainly is. Take a look at who this guy is. Defund the police was just taken out of context. Okay, well, here's a tweet from him from what's the date on this one? It's not there, but it's back during the defund the police movement. We don't need an investigation to know that the NYPD is racist, anti-queer, and a major threat to public safety. What we need is to defund the NYPD. I'm sorry, what is that being co-opted by Republicans? Am I co-opting this message? I sure hope I'm not. Listen, I'm going to let his statement stand on its own. There you go. No co-opting. And the whole cozying up to trans rights and trans issues, you're oftentimes we are accused of drawing on the trans issue right now and public support and public funding and the legalization of trans procedures and trans hiring. And we exploit these people. And these are just people who feel like they were born in the wrong body and they're suffering and they will probably kill themselves if you don't allow them to just live the quiet, peaceful life that they want to live. Why are you exploiting this issue? Okay, you know what? I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to let this speak for itself. Here's your Democrat nominee for mayor celebrating trans rights.
Actress did Ellen come out to in her sitcom in 1997? Reese Witherspoon, Laura Dern, or Felicity Huffman?
I'm gonna go with Laura Dern just because I love Jurassic Park.
And you're gonna be correct. Let's go! Hi, I'm Ananiah. This is Gaydar. What does WLW mean?
Win, loss, win?
Okay.
What
I
is
like
it?
the sentiment. It means women loving women.
Also agree.
Yeah! On Gaydar, we're politically correct. I live. Which queer group is currently being erased from all federal government websites?
Trans people.
Yes, they are. F you. Everyone in Trump's cabinet. You can't be here when I say that.
I'm just vehemently opposing their policies because they're disgusting.
You better get the SAT word in too. Which of these people is homophobic and they're trying to ban gay marriage in Michigan? And which of them is a gay icon?
Isn't this the guy who has the Elvis voice?
That's not Austin Butler.
Oh.
Okay, so who's the other one?
He's got to be trying to ban gay marriage.
Well, yes, with that middle part.
Is the right or the left?
The one on the right.
Okay. Never trust the right.
Period. You better get him. Yes. I can't believe I just called him mayoral elect. Name a gay bar in New York City.
Cubby.
Shut the up.
Cubby.
Go ahead. What's that movie from the 2000s where the snake like popped out of a Shia LaBeouf?
Cubby Hole?
Yes. My next question was to name a lesbian bar, but you did me one even better.
WLW, baby, let's go!
How will gay people affordably get around New York if you're elected? Also,
I'm glad that they get to an actual issue there eventually, but that's your mayor-elect for the Democrats in New York City right now. He's going to just cakewalk into the mayor's office. And again, no commentary needed. I'll just let that video stand on its own. We've shown you his radical policies, his radical socialism, his unhinged policies that he wants to implement. But we've left the best part for last. Let's not forget his radical, virulent, hateful anti-Semitism. He really hates the Jews. Here's just a little taste of it.
And Mayor Mamdani, would you welcome Prime Minister Netanyahu to New York City for whatever he comes for, given the US is not a signatory to the ICC, so he can travel to the US, unlike a lot of other countries. Would a Mayor Mamdani welcome Benjamin Netanyahu to the city?
No. As mayor, New York City would arrest Benjamin Netanyahu. This is a city that our values are in line with international law. It's time that our actions are also.
Even though the US is not a signatory to the ICC?
No, it's time that we actually step up and make clear what we are willing to do to showcase the leadership that is sorely missing in the federal administration.
Okay, so that's a man who wants to be mayor of New York who will utilize the NYPD to falsely arrest a world leader with no basis and no grounds and no actual legal right to do so, but because he wants to send a message. That's pretty radical, isn't it? But you might say, oh, that's just Israel. That's not because of the Jewish people. That doesn't make him anti-Semitic. Well, actually, how about this? This is the statement that then Assembly member Zoran Mamdani posted on October 8th, 2023. This is the day after the massacre of over 1,000 Jews and Americans in Israel at the hands of Hamas at the October 7th terror attacks. This was the message that he put out. This is his statement on the ongoing violence in Israel and Palestine. I'm sorry, the violence was in Israel. The terror attack came from Gaza, but the violence was in Israel against Israelis and Americans. I mourn the hundreds of people killed across Israel and Palestine in the last 36 hours. You understand something? He waited until Israel retaliated and went after the Hamas terrorists and killed some of them before he put out a statement. That way he could say, over the last 36 hours, there have been killings on both sides. He waited. He waited until there was a response. so he could both sides this thing. He couldn't bring himself to just say the murder of Jews is despicable and unacceptable and Hamas is evil. Nope, couldn't do it. Hey, Assemblyman, do you want to put out a message about the October 7th massacre? Just wait. Let's just wait a little bit. Let's wait another 12 hours, okay? Let's wait till we hit the 36-hour mark so we can say that it's terrible that there's violence on both sides, okay? Let's just do that. I feel more morally grounded with that kind of statement. But it gets worse. Netanyahu's declaration of war, the Israeli government's decision to cut electricity to Gaza, and Knesset members calling for another Nakba will undoubtedly lead to more violence and suffering in the days and weeks to come. The path toward a just and lasting peace can only begin by ending the occupation and dismantling apartheid. This entire statement is hammering the victims, the Jews, who were still mourning, who were still literally picking up the pieces of dead bodies at the music festival that had been slaughtered in the October 7th massacre. And this entire message is anti-Jew, anti-Israel, anti-Semitic. The kind of opportunistic, vile sociopath that'll put out a message like that shouldn't even be close to the mayor's office in New York City, let alone be their nominee for that seat, the Democrats' nominee for that seat. And will Democrats say anything about this? Is this Chuck Schumer's values? Is this Hakeem Jeffries' values? Is this Nancy Pelosi's values? Is this Bill Clinton's values? We know it's Barack Obama's values. The path toward a just and lasting peace can only begin by ending the occupation and dismantling apartheid. This man who wants to be mayor of New York City, who perfectly represents the Democrat Party right now, the base of the Democrat Party, the energy of the Democrat Party, the fundraising capabilities of the Democrat Party. This man, 36 hours off after the massacre and slaughter over 1,000 innocents at the hands of Hamas, decided that now was the time to basically deliver exactly what the Hamas terrorists demanded. He decided that now was the time, just 36 hours after the massacre, to say, you know what, Hamas has a point. You know what, unless we want more Jews slaughtered and more Americans taken hostage, you better give them what they want. End the occupation. And let's be clear. When they say end the occupation, they don't mean Gaza and the West Bank, because guess what? Gaza and the West Bank hadn't been occupied for years. No. When they say end the occupation, they mean end the state of Israel. That's what from the river to the sea means. That's what globalize the Intifada means. That's what this man stands for. That's your Democrat nominee for mayor of New York City. And as far as I'm concerned, at this point, the shining star of the Democrat Party writ large, until one of them condemns him, until one of them stands up and says, this is not who we are. This can't be. I'd rather vote for Curtis Sliwa than vote for this guy. Until they do, and they haven't yet, he's their guy, and he perfectly represents them. Like I said, the mask is off right now. They'll put the mask back on, trust me. When it comes time for the midterms next year, when it comes time for the presidency in 28, the mask will be back on. They'll find their Joe Biden type to convince you that they're not nearly as radical and crazy as you think they are, as they say they are, as they demonstrate they are. The mask is going to be put back on. Remember this day. Bookmark this show. Today the mask is off. This is who they are.